November 18, 2023, Atlanta, Georgia. A wedding reception at the Grand Marquis Hotel. 200 guests celebrating the union of Maya Richardson and Sheikh Emir al-Rashid. Music playing. Champagne flowing. Joy filling the air. It was supposed to be the happiest day of Maya's life. She was marrying the love of her life. A wealthy, kind, successful man who adored her. She'd gone from orphan to bride of a billionaire's son. A real-life Cinderella story. But at 9:47 p.m., when it was time for the first dance, the bride and groom were missing. By 10:15 p.m., their bodies were found. Both murdered. Both killed separately in different locations within the hotel. Both slaughtered on what should have been the most beautiful night of their lives.
Welcome to Secret Witness, the channel where we uncover crime, betrayal, and the darkest secrets people try to hide.
Every day we bring you gripping true crime-inspired stories that will shock you, haunt you, and make you question what really happens behind closed doors. So before we dive into today's chilling story, make sure you subscribe and ring the bell icon, so you'll never miss a single twist. The killers? 3 people who'd been invited as honored guests. 3 people who'd smiled in every wedding photo. 3 people Maya and Emir had trusted completely. One was Maya's co-worker, jealous of her success. The other 2? Maya's best friends since childhood. The girls she'd called sisters. The only family she'd ever known. They killed her on her wedding day. And they almost got away with it. Who would you trust with your life? Your best friends? The people who've known you since childhood? The ones who've seen you at your worst and loved you anyway? The ones who know all your secrets, all your dreams, all your fears? Now answer this. What if those same friends, the ones you call sisters, decided you didn't deserve happiness? What if your success made them hate you? What if they smiled at your wedding while planning your murder? How well do you really know the people closest to you? Before we dive into this devastating case, I need you to do something. Drop a comment right now telling me where you're watching from. Because what you're about to hear will make you question every friendship you've ever had. And as this story unfolds, I want you to think. Have you ever had a friend who seemed happy for you but was secretly jealous? Someone who smiled to your face but resented your success? Drop a sad emoji if you've experienced this. Because jealousy doesn't just hurt feelings. Sometimes it kills. Let me take you back to the beginning. Back to when these 3 girls were just children with big dreams and promises of forever friendship. Back to when everything was still innocent. Maya Richardson, Jasmine Brooks, and Kennedy Taylor had been best friends since the 3rd grade. They met at Martin Luther King Jr. Elementary School in Atlanta, Georgia. 3 little girls who bonded over shared lunches, playground games, and a promise to always be there for each other. But even back then there were differences. Maya was different from the start. She was the quiet one. The responsible one. The girl who did her homework on time, helped others with their assignments, and never got in trouble. She lived with her grandmother. Her parents had died in a car accident when she was just 2 years old. Her grandmother, Miss Dorothy Richardson, raised her with love, discipline, and faith. Maya learned early that life was precious. That nothing was guaranteed. That you had to work hard for everything you wanted because nobody was going to hand it to you. Jasmine and Kennedy came from 2-parent households. They had more privileges, more freedom. And as they grew older, they started to take those things for granted. By high school, the differences became more obvious. Maya stayed focused on her studies. She was on the honor roll. She tutored other students. She worked part-time at a grocery store to help her grandmother with bills. Jasmine and Kennedy? They were more interested in boys, parties, and popularity. They weren't bad students. They passed their classes, but they didn't have Maya's drive. They didn't have her hunger. Still, they remained close. They called themselves the 3 Musketeers. They promised they'd go to college together, get jobs together, live together, and stay best friends forever. And for a while, it seemed like that promise would hold. All 3 girls got accepted to Georgia State University in Atlanta. They decided to share an apartment near campus. It was small, 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, a cramped kitchen. but it was theirs. Maya took the couch so Jasmine and Kennedy could share the bedrooms. She said she didn't mind. She was used to sacrifice. College was where the real differences started to show. Maya excelled. She majored in business administration with a minor in finance. She maintained a 3.8 GPA while working 2 part-time jobs. She was driven, focused. She had a plan: graduate with honors, get a good job, build a stable life. Jasmine and Kennedy struggled. Not with intelligence, they were smart, but with discipline. They skipped classes to go to parties. They waited until the last minute to study for exams. They failed courses and had to retake them. And then relationships. Jasmine and Kennedy dated constantly. A new boyfriend every few months. And every relationship followed the same toxic pattern. They'd meet a guy, fall hard and fast, become demanding and controlling, drain the guy financially with constant requests for hair appointments, nails, dinners, trips, designer bags, and then act shocked when the guy got tired and left. Maya watched this cycle repeat over and over, and she tried to help. She'd sit them down and talk to them gently. She'd say things like, "Maybe you're moving too fast. Maybe you should focus on building something real instead of just asking for things. Maybe you should work on yourself first." Jasmine and Kennedy would roll their eyes. They'd say, "Maya, you've never even had a boyfriend. How are you going to give us relationship advice? You don't know what it's like." Maya would respond, "I don't need to be in a relationship to see what's healthy and what's not. I'm just trying to help." But they didn't want to hear it. They wanted to keep living the way they were living. And slowly they started to resent Maya's advice. Started to see it as judgment. Started to feel like Maya thought she was better than them. All 3 graduated, eventually. Maya graduated summa cum laude in 4 years. Jasmine and Kennedy took 5.5 years and graduated with barely passing GPAs. But they'd made it. They were college graduates. And now it was time to find jobs. Maya started job hunting immediately. She sent out dozens of applications, went to countless interviews, and finally landed a position at Al Rashid Global Enterprises, a multinational conglomerate owned by Egyptian billionaire Hassan Al Rashid. The company had offices in Atlanta and dealt with everything from real estate to technology to pharmaceuticals. Maya started as a junior analyst, entry level, but it was a foot in the door at a prestigious company. Jasmine got a job as a receptionist at a law firm. Kennedy got a job at a retail store in the mall. Both were fine jobs, decent pay, but neither had the career trajectory Maya had. They all moved into a bigger apartment together, 3 bedrooms this time, so everyone had their own space. They split the rent 3 ways. They were still best friends. Still, the 3 musketeers. But the resentment was growing. Maya was exceptional at her job. She wasn't just good, she was brilliant. She analyzed data faster than anyone else. She spotted patterns others missed. She came up with solutions to problems that had stumped senior executives. Within 6 months, she was promoted to analyst. Within a year, she was senior analyst. Within 2 years, she was assistant manager. Her supervisors noticed. Her colleagues respected her. And most importantly, Hassan Al Rashid himself noticed her. Hassan was a man in his early 60s. Distinguished. Elegant. He'd built his empire from nothing, starting with a small trading business in Cairo and expanding it into a global enterprise. He had high standards and little patience for incompetence. But he saw something special in Maya. She reminded him of himself when he was young, hungry, disciplined, brilliant, and incorruptible. He started calling her into meetings, asking her opinion on major decisions, trusting her judgment. Meanwhile, Jasmine and Kennedy's lives were stagnating. Jasmine had been through 3 more boyfriends, each relationship ending the same way: demands, drama, breakup. Kennedy was on boyfriend number 5, and the pattern was identical. They'd come home and complain to Maya about men, about how hard dating was, about how guys were all the same. Maya would try to offer advice, gently, carefully, but they'd shut her down immediately. You still don't have a boyfriend, Maya? You still don't know what it's like. Stop acting like you're better than us. Maya would sigh and let it go. She loved her friends, but she was tired of the same conversations leading to no better ends. Let me ask you something. Have you ever had a friend who refused to take your advice, then blamed you when things went wrong? Drop your answer in the comments, because that's exactly what was happening here. And it was about to get so much worse. Also drop a comment telling us if you're still watching. In October 2022, Hassan al-Rashid called Maya into his office. She'd been with the company for 3 years at this point. She was 27 years old. Hassan sat behind his massive mahogany desk and smiled at her warmly. He told her he was getting older, that he was preparing to hand over the day-to-day operations of the company to his son, Sheikh Amir, who lived in Dubai and was finishing his MBA. But Hassan needed someone he could trust to help with the transition. Someone smart. Someone loyal. Someone who understood the company inside and out. He offered Maya the position of executive manager and personal secretary to the CEO. It came with a massive salary increase, nearly triple what she was making. A corner office, stock options, a company car. Maya was stunned. She asked if she was really qualified for such a huge responsibility. Hassan smiled and said, "Maya, I've been in business for 40 years. I know talent when I see it. You're not just qualified, you're the only person I trust for this job." Maya accepted. And just like that, at 27 years old, she became one of the highest-ranking employees at a multinational corporation. When she came home that night and told Jasmine and Kennedy, their reactions were complicated. They congratulated her. They hugged her. They said they were happy for her. But Maya couldn't see it in their eyes. The jealousy, the resentment, the unspoken question, why her and not us? They said to each other when Maya left for a cup of water. There was someone else who wasn't happy about Maya's promotion. Derek Williams. Derek was 34 years old. He'd been with Al-Rashid Global Enterprises for 8 years. He'd worked his way up from intern to senior manager. He was competent, reliable, but not exceptional. Derek had assumed that when Hassan started preparing for his son to take over, Derek would be the one chosen as the right-hand man. He'd put in the years. He'd paid his dues. But Hassan had chosen Maya instead. A woman 7 years younger than him who'd been with the company less than half the time he had. Derek was furious, but he didn't show it publicly. He smiled. He congratulated Maya. He shook her hand. But inside he was seething. And he started planning. 2 months after Maya's promotion, Hassan told her he wanted her to meet his son. Sheikh Amir al-Rashid was flying in from Dubai for the holidays, and Hassan wanted to introduce them. Hassan had an ulterior motive, though he didn't say it outright. He wanted Amir to marry Maya. Hassan had watched Maya for 3 years. He knew her character, her integrity, her intelligence. She was exactly the kind of woman he wanted for his son, someone who would be a true partner, not just a trophy wife. The meeting was arranged at the St. Regis Atlanta, one of the most luxurious hotels in the city. Hassan booked a private dining room. He told Maya it was a business dinner, nothing more. But when Maya walked into that room and saw Sheikh Amir al-Rashid for the first time, something shifted in the universe. Amir was 32 years old, tall, handsome, impeccably dressed in a tailored suit. He had his father's sharp intelligence in his eyes, but a warmth and humor that was all his own. When their eyes met, they both felt it. That inexplicable pull. That instant recognition. They talked for hours that night. About business, yes, but also about life. About dreams. About faith. About what mattered most. Amir was charming but not arrogant. successful but not entitled. He'd been raised with wealth, but his father had taught him the value of hard work and humility. And he was captivated by Maya, by her intelligence, her grace, her strength. By the end of the night, Amir asked if he could see her again. Not for business, just to spend time together. Maya, who'd never dated anyone in her life, surprised herself by saying yes. Over the next 6 months, Amir courted Maya properly. He flew to Atlanta every other week. He took her to dinners, museums, concerts. He met her grandmother, Miss Dorothy, and charmed her completely. He respected Maya's boundaries, never rushed her, never pressured her. He was patient, gentle, kind, and Maya fell in love, deeply, completely. For the first time in her life, she understood what all those movies and songs were about. She understood what her friends called relationship, but the best version of it. Jasmine and Kennedy watched their relationship develop with growing bitterness. They'd been through dozens of boyfriends. Maya had never dated anyone. And now she was dating a billionaire sheik? How's that even possible? Why always her? Kennedy said as she left Jasmine furiously. "It's not fair," Jasmine said one night after Maya left for a date with Amir. "She acts like she's too good for regular guys and now she's with a prince?" "She's always been lucky," Kennedy added. "Everything just falls into her lap." They didn't see the years of hard work, the sacrifices, the discipline. They just saw the result and called it luck. In March 2023, 6 months after they started dating, Amir proposed. He did it the right way. He asked Miss Dorothy for her blessing first. She cried and said yes. Then he flew Maya to Dubai, took her to the top of the Burj Khalifa at sunset, got down on one knee and asked her to be his wife. The ring was stunning, a 5-carat diamond that caught the light like a star. Maya said yes through tears of joy. She'd never imagined this kind of happiness was possible for her. The orphan girl from Atlanta was marrying a sheik. When she came home and showed Jasmine and Kennedy the ring, their congratulations felt hollow, forced. But Maya was too happy to notice. The wedding was set for November 18, 2023. 7 months to plan. It would be a grand affair at the Grand Marquis Hotel in Atlanta. 200 guests. No expense spared. That's when Derek Williams made his move. Derek had been watching Maya's relationship with Amir develop. And with each milestone, each date, each public appearance, each mention in the society pages, his resentment grew. Maya had taken his promotion. Now she was marrying into one of the wealthiest families in the Middle East. She was going to have everything, while he had nothing. In August 2023, 3 months before the wedding, Derek met Jasmine and Kennedy when Maya invited them over for a coffee during her break. Unfortunately, the break cut short for her, as she had to go attend to something in her office immediately. That's when Derek, Jasmine, and Kennedy took off from. They just talked and talk led to talk. Maya's life was brought in and the resentment continued to growth. Time after time they'd meet even without Maya's knowledge. He'd noticed they worked in the same building where Jasmine was a receptionist. He started chatting with them during lunch breaks. He'd make casual comments. "Must be nice having a friend who's marrying a billionaire. I bet she's changed a lot, huh?" Jasmine would nod. "She thinks she's better than everyone now." Derek would stoke the fire. "It's crazy how some people get everything handed to them while the rest of us work our asses off for nothing." Kennedy would agree, "Right? Like what makes her so special?" Over several weeks, Derek carefully cultivated their resentment, turned jealousy into hatred, planted ideas. "Sometimes I wish she'd just disappear," Jasmine said one day, half joking. Derek looked at her carefully. What if she could? That's when the conspiracy truly began. Derek, Jasmine, and Kennedy started meeting in secret. At first it was just venting, complaining, fantasizing about Maya's downfall. But Derek pushed it further. He said he had his own reasons for wanting Maya gone. She'd stolen his career trajectory, stolen his future. And now she was about to marry into billions while he struggled to pay his rent. What if, Derek said carefully, something happened to her? And to her husband? What if they never made it past the wedding day? Jasmine and Kennedy should have walked away. Should have been horrified. Should have protected their childhood friend. But jealousy is a poison that kills empathy. And they've been drinking that poison for years. They listened. Derek laid out a plan. The wedding would be the perfect opportunity. Chaos. Hundreds of people. Easy to get lost in the crowd. Easy to lure the bride and groom away separately. They'd kill them both. Make it look like a robbery or a random attack. And then they'd disappear into the crowd before anyone noticed. Derek would handle Amir. Jasmine and Kennedy would handle Maya. They practiced their alibis. Planned their escape routes. Bought burner phones to communicate. And as the wedding day approached, they smiled in Maya's face. Helped her with wedding planning. Acted like the devoted best friends they were supposed to be. November 18, 2023. The Grand Marquis Hotel in Atlanta. The wedding day had arrived. The ceremony was breathtaking. The hotel's grand ballroom had been transformed into an elegant wonderland. White roses everywhere, crystal chandeliers, soft lighting that made everything look like a dream. Maya walked down the aisle in a custom-made wedding dress, fitted lace bodice, flowing silk skirt, cathedral train. She looked like royalty. Her grandmother, Miss Dorothy, sat in the front row, tears streaming down her eyes. Oh, what a joy to watch, she'd say to herself. Amir stood at the altar in a custom tuxedo, his eyes never leaving his bride. When Maya reached him, he whispered, "You're the most beautiful woman I've ever seen." The ceremony was a blend of Christian and Islamic traditions, honoring both their faiths. The imam and the pastor co-officiated. It was beautiful, meaningful, sacred. When they were pronounced husband and wife, the room erupted in applause. Amir kissed his bride. They turned to face their guests, beaming with joy. Jasmine and Kennedy stood in the bridal party, wearing matching bridesmaid dresses, holding bouquets, smiling for photos. Derek sat in the guest section, wearing a suit, clapping along with everyone else. 3 killers. Hiding in plain sight. The reception began at 8 p.m. Dinner was served, a lavish 5-course meal. Toasts were given. Hassan gave an emotional speech about finding Maya and knowing she was perfect for his son. Miss Dorothy cried through her entire speech about watching her granddaughter find love. Jasmine and Kennedy gave a toast as co-maids of honor. They talked about growing up with Maya, about how proud they were of her, about how they loved her like a sister. Every word was a lie. At 9:30 p.m., the DJ announced it was time for the first dance. Amir and Maya were supposed to take the floor for their special song. But then Derek appeared at Amir's side. He leaned in close and whispered, "Sheikh Amir, I need to speak with you urgently. It's about your father's company. There's been a security breach. It can't wait." Amir frowned. "Derek, this is my wedding. I understand, but this is a matter of millions of dollars. 5 minutes. That's all I need." Amir looked at Maya apologetically. "I'll be right back. I promise." He kissed her hand and followed Derek out of the ballroom toward a service corridor. 30 seconds later, Jasmine and Kennedy approached Maya. "Maya, we need to talk to you. Privately." "It's important," Jasmine said. Maya laughed. "Can it wait? We're about to do our first dance." "No," Kennedy said firmly. "It's about your grandmother. She's not feeling well. She's in the bridal suite. She asked for you." Maya's smile disappeared. "What? Is she okay?" She said not to make a scene. Just come quietly. She doesn't want to ruin your night." Maya didn't hesitate. She gathered her dress and followed her friends out of the ballroom, through a back hallway, toward a restricted storage area on the second floor. She never saw the hatred in their eyes. Derek led Amir down a service corridor to a storage room near the hotel's loading dock. He said there was a laptop there with evidence of the security breach. When they entered the room, it was dark. Amir reached for the light switch. That's when Derek pulled out a knife. He'd bought it weeks ago, a hunting knife with a 7-inch blade. He'd practiced with it, knew exactly where to strike. Amir turned just in time to see the blade coming. He tried to fight back. He was strong, trained in martial arts, but Derek had the element of surprise. The first stab caught Amir in the side. He gasped, stumbled back. Derek stabbed him again, and again. 7 times total. Amir collapsed against a stack of boxes, blood pouring from his wounds. He looked at Derek with confusion and betrayal. He managed to whisper, "Why?" Derek's answer was cold, "Because you had everything I deserved." He watched Amir die. Then he cleaned the knife, put it in his bag, and calmly walked out through the loading dock exit. Meanwhile, on the second floor, Jasmine and Kennedy led Maya to an empty conference room that was being renovated. No cameras. No security. No witnesses. Maya was still worried about her grandmother. "Where is she? You said she was here." Jasmine locked the door behind them. Maya turned, confused. "What's going on?" Kennedy pulled out a small handgun, one Derek had provided. She'd never shot anyone before. Her hand was shaking. Maya's eyes widened. "Kennedy? What are you doing? Is this a joke? Does it look like a joke?" Jasmine's voice was full of venom. Maya's mind was racing. "I don't understand. What's happening?" "What's happening," Jasmine said, stepping closer, "is that we're tired. Tired of watching you get everything while we get nothing. Tired of you acting like you're better than us. Tired of you having the perfect life while we're stuck in the same place." Maya felt tears streaming down her face. "I never thought I was better than you. I loved you. You're my sisters. You're all I have." "You have everything," Kennedy spat. "A rich husband. A perfect career. You took it all." "I didn't take anything from you," Maya cried. "I worked for everything I have. I tried to help you. I tried." "Shut up," Jasmine said. "Just shut up with your advice and your perfect life and your—" The gunshot was loud even though the room was soundproofed. Kennedy had fired. The bullet hit Maya in the chest. She stumbled backward, her white wedding dress blooming red. Maya collapsed to the floor, her eyes wide with shock and betrayal. She tried to speak, but only blood came out. Jasmine and Kennedy stood frozen for a moment, realizing what they'd just done. Then Kennedy fired twice more, making sure. Maya Richardson died on the floor of that empty conference room in her wedding dress, killed by the 2 people she'd loved most in the world. Jasmine and Kennedy wiped down the gun, put it in a bag, and left through a back stairwell. They went to the bathroom, fixed their makeup, and returned to the reception. All 3 killers were back in the ballroom by 9:45 p.m. Smiling, chatting, acting concerned when people asked where the bride and groom were. At 10 p.m., the DJ made another announcement calling for the bride and groom. They didn't appear. At 10:10 p.m., people started looking for them, checking the bridal suite, calling their phones. At 10:15 p.m., a hotel security guard doing rounds in the loading dock area found Amir's body. He immediately called 911. At 10:18 p.m., another security guard checking the second floor found the conference room door locked. He had a master key. When he opened it, he found Maya. The hotel erupted in chaos. Screaming, crying, police sirens. Hassan al-Rashid collapsed when he saw his son's body. Miss Dorothy fainted when they told her about Maya. 200 wedding guests became 200 witnesses and suspects. And somewhere in that crowd, 3 killers pretended to be shocked. Atlanta Police Department homicide detective Marcus Jennings arrived at the Grand Marquis Hotel at 10:35 p.m. He'd been a detective for 20 years. He'd seen a lot. But a double murder at a wedding? This was new. 2 separate crime scenes. 2 victims. No apparent connection between the murders except they were married to each other. This was either a coordinated attack or the most tragic coincidence in history. Detective Jennings started with the basics. He interviewed hotel staff, reviewed the guest list, checked for security cameras. There were cameras in the hallways but none in the storage room where Amir was killed or the conference room where Maya was killed. Whoever did this knew the hotel's blind spots. The medical examiner determined both victims had been killed between 9:35 and 9:45 p.m. Amir had been stabbed 7 times. Maya had been shot 3 times. Different weapons, different methods, possibly different killers. But Detective Jennings didn't believe in coincidences. This was planned, coordinated, personal. Detective Jennings started interviewing guests. Everyone had an alibi. They were all in the ballroom when the murders happened. He interviewed Derek Williams. Derek said he'd been at his table the whole time. Several co-workers confirmed seeing him there. He interviewed Jasmine and Kennedy. They said they'd been mingling with guests, crying because they were so happy for Maya. Other guests confirmed seeing them at the reception. Everyone had alibis. Everyone was accounted for, except for the missing time. Detective Jennings pulled the hallway security footage. At 9:32 p.m., cameras showed Derek and Amir walking toward the service corridor. At 9:33 p.m., cameras showed Jasmine, Kennedy, and Maya heading toward the second-floor stairwell. At 9:44 p.m., Derek appeared on camera walking out through the loading dock exit, then re-entering through the main entrance. At 9:46 p.m., Jasmine and Kennedy appeared on camera coming down from the second floor, going to the bathroom, then returning to the ballroom. The timing was too perfect, too calculated. Detective Jennings knew he had his killers. But he needed proof. At the scene where Amir was killed, crime scene investigators found something. A company ID badge on the floor near the body. It belonged to Derek Williams. When confronted, Derek claimed he must have dropped it earlier in the day. That it didn't mean anything. But forensic analysis found Amir's blood on the edge of the badge. Derek had been there. During the murder. That was enough for an arrest warrant. But the case against Jasmine and Kennedy was harder. No physical evidence. No clear motive that investigators knew about. Nothing but suspicious timing. Until Detective Jennings got a call on November 20th, 2 days after the murders. A man named Carlos Martinez had information. He'd been too scared to come forward at first, but his conscience wouldn't let him stay silent. Carlos was a guest at a different wedding at the Grand Marquis that same night. His event was on the 3rd floor. During the reception, he'd stepped outside onto a terrace to smoke a cigarette. From where he stood, he had a view of the second-floor conference room window. At approximately 9:37 p.m., he saw 3 women enter the room. 1 in a wedding dress. 2 in matching bridesmaid dresses. He thought it was odd but figured it was wedding party stuff. Until he heard shouting. Then he saw one of the bridesmaids pull out a gun. Carlos pulled out his phone and started recording. He was too far away to do anything. Too far for anyone to hear him if he yelled. The music from both receptions was too loud. He recorded the whole thing. 3 shots. The bride falling. The bridesmaids leaving. He'd called 911 immediately, but by the time he explained where he was and got down to the second floor, the police had already found the body. Carlos showed Detective Jennings the video. Clear as day, Kennedy pulling the gun. Both women standing over Maya's body. Their faces visible through the window. Detective Jennings had his proof. Derek Williams was arrested on November 21st at his apartment. He tried to run but was tackled by officers in the parking lot. Jasmine Brooks and Kennedy Taylor were arrested the same day at the apartment they'd shared with Maya. They were packing to leave town. All three were charged with first-degree murder, conspiracy to commit murder, and lying to investigators. In separate interrogation rooms, the three killers eventually broke. Derek confessed first. He admitted he'd been planning to kill Amir for months. That he'd been consumed with jealousy over Maya's success. He'd wanted to hurt Hassan by killing his son. And eliminating Amir meant eliminating Maya's fairy tale. He admitted to recruiting Jasmine and Kennedy. To manipulating their jealousy. To providing Kennedy with the gun. Jasmine broke down crying during her interrogation. She admitted she'd hated Maya for years. That watching Maya succeed while she struggled had destroyed her. That she convinced herself Maya deserved to die. Kennedy was defiant at first. She said Maya had always acted superior. Had always judged them. But when Detective Jennings showed her the video of Maya dying, Kennedy vomited and confessed everything. All three confessed. All three were convicted. The trial took place in March 2024. The courtroom was packed every day. National media covered it extensively. The Wedding Day Massacre became a headline around the world. The video footage was played in court. Every juror cried. Several spectators left the room. The prosecution argued this was the most cold-blooded, calculated double murder they'd ever seen. Three people who smiled in their victims' faces while planning their deaths. Judge Patricia Hamilton had been on the bench for 30 years. She'd seen evil. But this case shook her. At sentencing, she addressed each defendant individually. To Derek, "You let jealousy consume you until you became a monster. You murdered a young man on the happiest day of his life because you couldn't stand to see someone else succeed. You deserve no mercy. Life without parole." To Kennedy, "You held the gun. You pulled the trigger. You murdered your best friend, someone who loved you like a sister, because you were jealous of her happiness. There is a special place in hell for people like you. Life without parole." To Jasmine, "You were there. You watched. You helped plan. You are just as guilty as the one who pulled the trigger. You will spend the rest of your life thinking about what you did. Life without parole." All three were led away in chains. None of them looked at each other. Their friendship, if it had ever been real, was dead too. Derek Williams, Jasmine Brooks, and Kennedy Taylor are all serving life sentences in Georgia prisons. Miss Dorothy Richardson lived for 6 more months after the trial. She died in her sleep in September 2024. The doctors said it was heart failure. But everyone who knew her said she died of a broken heart. She's buried next to Maya at historic Oakland Cemetery in Atlanta. The case sparked national conversations about jealousy, toxic friendships, and recognizing warning signs. Psychologists analyzed the case extensively. Dr. Veronica Simmons, a leading expert on friendship dynamics, said in an interview, "This case shows us that jealousy isn't just an emotion, it's a poison. When people constantly compare themselves to others and measure their worth by someone else's success, it creates a toxic mindset. Add resentment, add years of festering bitterness, and you create killers." The case also highlighted the dangers of workplace jealousy. Derek Williams had spent years watching Maya rise while he stagnated. Instead of working on himself, he blamed her for his failures. That blame became hatred. Hatred became murder. But here's something that haunts everyone who worked on this case. When investigators examined Maya's phone after her death, they found a draft text message. She'd written it the morning of her wedding but never sent it. It was addressed to Jasmine and Kennedy. The message read, "I know things have been weird between us lately. I know you feel like I've changed. But I want you to know that no matter how much my life changes, you two will always be my sisters. You've been with me through everything. I couldn't imagine this day without you by my side. After the wedding, after all the craziness settles down, let's take a trip together. Just the three of us. Like old times. I miss my best friends. I love you both so much. Thank you for being here today." She never got to send it, because by the time she would have, she was already dead. Killed by the two people she called sisters. Let me ask you something that's been weighing on me since I started researching this case. At what point does jealousy stop being an emotion and start being evil? Was it when Jasmine and Kennedy first felt resentful of Maya's success? Or when they met with Derek to plan? Or when they pulled the trigger? Drop your honest thoughts in the comments. Because this case isn't just about three killers. It's about how small seeds of jealousy, if left unchecked, can grow into something monstrous. And here's the harder question. Have you ever felt jealous of a friend's success? Have you ever resented someone for having what you wanted? Be honest. Because recognizing those feelings is the first step to making sure they never consume you the way they consumed these three people. Maya Richardson should be alive today. She should be living in Dubai with her husband. She should be running her father-in-law's company. She should be having children. Growing old. Living the life she'd worked so hard to build. Instead, she died at 28 years old. In a wedding dress. Killed by her best friends. Sheikh Amir al-Rashid should be alive today. He should be running his father's empire. He should be raising a family. He should be making his father proud. Instead, he died at 32 years old. In his tuxedo. Killed by a jealous co-worker. Two beautiful lives. Cut short. Not by strangers. Not by random violence. But by people they trusted. People they loved. People they'd invited to celebrate the happiest day of their lives. That's the real horror of this case. Not just that murder happened, but who did it, and why. That's not love. That's ownership. That's control. That's evil disguised as friendship. So pay attention to the people around you. The ones who smile when you succeed but whose eyes don't match their smiles. The ones who always have something negative to say about your accomplishments. The ones who make you feel guilty for being happy. Those aren't friends. Those are people who will celebrate your failures and resent your victories. And sometimes, if the jealousy runs deep enough, they become killers. Maya Richardson trusted her best friends with her life. And they took it. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because every day we bring you cases that will make you question who you can trust. This has been Secret Witness, True Crime Stories, where every crime leaves a witness. Every case hides a secret. And sometimes your best friend is your worst enemy. Before you go, drop a broken heart heartbreak emoji in the comments if this case broke your heart. Because Maya and Amir deserved better. They deserve to live. Until next time, stay safe. Watch your circle closely. And remember, jealousy kills.